Welcome back into the latest in our voter education series in partnership with the Citizens for Milford. Once again, getting everyone ready with all of the information they need ahead of the local town elections. And once again, we're so happy to be joined here by Mike Bontempo. He is the current town moderator for the town of Milford. Mike, welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Tim. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'd like to thank MilfordTV.net, as well as the Citizens for Milford, Jerry Eddins, and Jose Costa for reaching out to me and getting me back on the air here.
Always great to partner with Jerry and Jose and everyone over at Citizens for Milford, doing a great job as always, trying to keep the community active in a lot of different ways, and including in the local election process, which is just so important. And so, Mike, we had you on last year to talk about more of the role of town meeting members,
Right.
and the experience and the opportunities there for that position. But obviously, you hold a crucially important role in the town as the town moderator, and possibly a role that folks out there in the community, if they're not attending town meeting, if they're not viewing town meeting regularly, maybe don't know a lot about. So I guess first and foremost, tell us a little bit about how long you've been the town moderator here in Milford.
I've been the town moderator since I was elected in 2001. So that was the first. That was to fill a 2-year term. That was due to the untimely death of the previous town moderator, Mike Nofree, who passed away in 2020. I think it was September of 2020. So there was an unexpired term to fill 2 years, and then I was reelected in 2003, and I'll be up for reelection in next April.
And that's 2021, 2023.
Yeah, so
for
2 years,
those years.
and then,
Yeah.
and then 3 years. The term is 3 years in the town of Milford for the moderator. So 2023 to 2026.
So lay it out for us, Mike. What are sort of the basic roles and responsibilities involved in the town moderator?
The role, the powers and duties of the moderator are pretty much defined in state law. And the three primary one with town meeting is to preside and regulate the proceedings, to decide all questions of order, and also to make public declarations of the votes. That's the key responsibilities of the moderator when it comes to town meeting. And there are some other powers and duties associated with it. For example, one of them is no one can speak at town meeting without leave of the moderator. So you have to have the moderator's permission to speak at town meeting. And as long as you speak, as you say, to the question, or what you're saying is relevant, then you can speak, continue to speak. But if you kind of stray off the subject and you're warned repeatedly to get back on subject and you don't do it, then the moderator has the power to tell you to please sit down, and you can't speak anymore to the question. I mean, that doesn't happen too often, but it's in order for the town meeting to function properly, which is to do the town's business. The legislature is right in giving that power to the moderator. And the other duties have to do with, especially during the pandemic, was to decide whether to have a remote meeting or an in-person meeting. And that was a recommendation I would make to the select board. Then the select board would have the final decision. But those are the basic duties and responsibilities that the moderator has.
And I know too, Mike, looking through sort of like the core responsibilities that are out there for a town moderator, I know that there's one kind of buried down on the list that involves appointing committee members. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's not something that's in the state laws. That's something that is done by individual towns. For example, in Milford, I think the only two responsibilities I have with appointments to committees are the Milford school use program, appointing members to that committee, as well as when it's convened, appointing a couple of members, I think one or two, maybe it's just one, to the Milford Police Chief Selection Review Committee. So, but other towns, for example, moderators have the authority to appoint finance committee members. And that was something that years ago, the moderator did do, but at some point in the 1920s or something like that, when they had really a formal finance committee set up, that authority was given to the select board. So they've had it ever since then. But though that's really, there's nothing in the state laws that says the moderator has the power to appoint to certain committees. It's something that's done by town bylaws.
I see. What would you say are what's some of the experience that's really helpful to have if you're looking to play a role like this in
Well,
town?
I mean, I think the most important thing is to be a town meeting member, so you understand how town meeting works, and that is you have to go to quite a few meetings. You have to be I think a regular participant, and I find that one of the most important things I do at being a town meeting is to explain what the rules are, so to speak. Some of the things that we do at town meeting, because people, for whatever reason, they are elected. Some people, they may miss one or two meetings or whatever, and you're only meeting, twice a year on average. So it's kind of hard to remember going back in there how town meeting works. So again, if you've been at town meeting for a long time, I think that helps. And also helps if you know and understand and read about parliamentary procedure and how that works.
It's fascinating to watch a town meeting unfold. There's a lot of different scenarios that can come up in a town meeting. You can have an article that's being presented. You can have someone who comes up who wants to amend the article. You have certain votes that require a different majority of votes than others. So it seems as though there's a lot of procedural matters. There's a lot of details that you have to really sort of have at the ready. You can't really be reading off of a sheet, and it feels like you do such an amazing job at these meetings to have all of that information right at the ready so that you are able to keep control of any situation that comes up. That can't be something easy. That probably takes a lot of experience to really get all that down.
But a lot of it is just the preparation before town meeting is when the warrant comes out, I get a copy of it and I read through it very thoroughly. If there's changes to bylaws, whether it's the town bylaws or the personnel board or the zoning articles, I go back to those bylaws and I read through the bylaws and I figure out what is being changed, and I have that all noted down. I go through that with town council before every meeting too. The quantum of votes each article has, either whether it's a majority or 2/3, or sometimes it might be 4/5 or 9/10, depending on the situation. But we go through those and I mark out which ones need those specific votes, because if they don't get that specific vote, then it's not legally. The article isn't in the motion isn't legally binding, and therefore then we would have to go back and have another vote, which means another town meeting. So, getting those votes right, especially on the motions for the articles, is crucial. Not so much on the procedural stuff. That's not is absolutely crucial, but it has to be on those motions for the articles have to be correct. So all that takes time to do. I don't know how much time it takes. It all depends on how many articles there are in the warrant. But to do that research takes time. So a lot of it is just preparation. You just can't read it a couple days before and expect to go in there and do the job.
Yeah, oftentimes only two town meetings a year, the annual town meeting and the special town meeting, but regardless, a lot of preparation for a position like this, to be sure. Mike, I know I asked you this a little bit last year, but what is it for you personally that makes you feel like serving in a capacity like this in local government is so important?
Well, I think it's part of, I think I may have alluded to this before. It's part of the culture I grew up in. My family has been in this town, at least my mother's side has been in this town since the 1850s. Her father the Davrons have been involved in Milford politics for well over 100 years. Whether it was her great-grandfather, who was the first highway supervisor, my grandfather, who was in the school committee, as well as a longtime town meeting members. I've had great uncles who were town meeting members. I've had an uncle who was a representative for the town in the State House, as well as being Speaker of the House and Secretary of the Commonwealth. Aunts and uncles who are town meeting members, brothers who are town meeting members. So it's something that you grew up with, that civic engagement and being in town government, and it's part of the legacy I grew up with. And it was never any doubt that I would somehow get involved. It started slowly with just the being a town meeting member, and then when the opportunity arose, the situation came about, and plus I was involved in the Town Meeting Studying and Improvement Committee, and specifically tasked with coming up with the procedure, the town meeting procedures, writing a booklet on that. I became interested in how town meeting really functions, really understanding it, and that really sparked my interest in becoming the moderator when the chance arose, because I knew I had that knowledge from doing that, and it seemed to be a good fit.
So important to have people in the community that want to give back, that want to serve the community, that want to get involved in local government. These are the positions that are doing the most important work that impacts the people in this town in their everyday life. So we obviously really appreciate all the work that you do in this community, and it's a good story for everyone else out there. If you're not involved, there's so many different ways to get involved, whether it's positions like town moderator or, again, positions like town meeting members, to sort of get your foot in the door and get involved in the local political process. Again, it's important to continue to get new people involved all the time, and we know that is why the Citizens for Milford are trying to get all of these interviews out there and get more people involved in the local election process here in Milford. Well, Mike, it's really fascinating to talk to you about stuff like this, and again, we really appreciate all the work that you do. We thank you so much for joining us and sharing all this information with us.
Again, thank you, Tim, for having me here. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.